with a quick slant complete. Henry runs. Here's one of those plays Gary's talking about. You can forget it. Fastest guy on the Alabama team.
Mac, I'm gone. I'm millionaire.
Pass out for Ruggs, who's got plenty of daylight.
Nigerian hair, my criteria compared to your career. This isn't fair. I'm a venereal disease. Back I'm in school. Bleed through the pencil and leak on the sheet of the tablet in my mind. Cause I don't write shit. Cause I ain't got time. For my second minutes, I was go to the $90 in the O. Like the power of that chopper, sister, brother, son, daughter, father, motherfucker, my brother.
Henry Ruggs will not be caught. Touchdown, Crimson
You can't catch him, you can't stop him. I go by them goons.
Play action. Throw on the sideline is caught. Henry
in Baca.
ball rolls, throws, runs.
Motherfucker, I'm ill.
Najee Harris in the backfield. Coupled by Lowen. Fires a strike. Caught by Henry Ruggs. Little shake and bake. A gain of 12 yards and a first down.
Gonna go long sideline. Got it. Touchdown, Ruggs. Henry Ruggs gets to the end.
A million here, a million there. Sicilian bitch with long hair with coconut dairy gear.
Possession for the Crimson Tide after a loss of 3. Quick slide. There he goes.
He's a beast. He's the motherfucking problem. Who can hear a glimmer? What's a going to a goblin?
Still got a ways to go to catch Amari Cooper, but Judy and Ruggs and Waddle and Devontae Smith helping each other out even when there's dirt in your face mask and handshake from the coach.
Hello, welcome. It's UK Cowboys TV, Season 1, Episode 41, and it is the Draft Show, Episode 3, if we include the one that Graham did with Lauren a couple weeks back. This week, we are looking at offensive prospects. So it's the offensive prospect show as well. Hence why we had the nice little intro there of Henry Ruggs. Last week, we did Grant Delpit. Looked at first round opportunities and day 2 as well mixed in there. This week we have an all Kelp crew looking at it. We've got Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. So we got Graham with us representing the Scottish, and we've got Brian with us representing Ireland. How are we, guys? You all right?
Cheers.
Yeah, good.
I brought the whiskey.
You can send some my way if you feel like.
No worries.
Yeah, but let's have a look at the offensive prospects this week then, guys. Do you guys want to start with the backup quarterback position? Something that we were talking about this week at UK Cowboys. You cool with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Right then. So let's look at this first of all. Let's first of all rule out prospects that we know are going to get picked fairly early, right? So it doesn't really matter which discernible order you guys go in, but I think it's fair to say in the first group of quarterbacks, if you like, it's Burrow and Tua on their own. Whichever way round you do it, whether you've got Burrow at the top or you've got Tua, they're in a position of their own, if you like. Yeah, would you agree?
Yeah.
With Herbert as the outsider, I just wonder, so long as the medical comes back all right with Tua, yeah. But if there's something in that medical or something isn't quite cleared up, because everybody seems to be going on about the hip, but a lot of folk are forgetting about the ankle as well. But if the ankle comes up fine, then it's a 2-horse race, absolutely.
Yeah, it's ankle, hip, feet, wrist as well. I think yeah, he's just a guy falling apart. And the bit that made me laugh as well with Tua is people were going about how in the combine they're like, oh, he's on about throwing. You're like, he's not going to throw in the combine. The guy is in a wheelchair at the moment.
No. Anybody with a first round grade doesn't throw at the combine because it only hurts.
Yeah, most, yeah. And then I would say in the next, if you like, rank, if you like, I've got Justin Herbert on his own. I don't think really he's a guy that we're going to be going for. Then on his own again, in the next group is Jordan Love. He's completely on his own. Then I think it's going to be, if you're looking at backup quarterback, I think this is where the next group of guys fall into place. And we'll just look at these particular guys. I'll ask you which way round you got them ranked, and then we'll look into them, all right? So the next group of guys is Eason, From, Hurts, and Gordon. So I'll ask you first, Bri. Out of those guys, which way round have you got them ranked?
Of those guys, I would have Eason top, then Hurts, then From, and then Gordon.
Okay. Are you the same there then, Graham?
I would just move From to the top.
Okay.
I think From, if From lands in the right situation, like if he gets to be a Jimmy Garoppolo for a year, maybe two.
Yeah.
He has the chance to be good. But yeah, they're not elite day one, throw them in kind of squad.
Definitely, and they do say, I mean, you can't be wrong really with on From. I mean, they do say, I've said it before on this show that a quarterback's game, 99% of it is played between the years. And out of all those guys, From has probably got the most football IQ. And obviously his decision-making is really good as well. So I'd probably go as far to say, if I'm eating my own words, like I said in the beginning of the season, you could put From at the top of that list, yeah.
If I ask the question though,
yeah,
are we grading Jake From the player or Jake From behind the dominant offensive line he played with in Georgia? I mean, most of that Georgia line are potentially day one picks. So are we overgrading him because of who he played behind?
There is some of that, yeah. I mean, you can't take that away. Would you say the production though should have been better if that's the case?
I think it should. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the issue you've got with From is it's everything pre-snap and as the play's developing, and then as soon as he goes to throw the ball, that's when it goes wrong. Because his accuracy and the power he can create are both something I think that are going to be a huge question mark. But one of the guys then that I'll ask you guys about, I'll start with you first, Graham. Jalen Hurts. Right now, I put him. We spoke about it earlier in the week. He's basically his Dak 2.0. Not as a good of a passer coming out of college. Dak was much more polished as a passer. Do you think that would be an option as backup quarterback? Given the fact they're so close together, as in stylistically.
Yeah, I mean, goodness, he knows how to win. What was it, 38 and something as a starter?
Yeah.
He can roll out. He's good at the intermediate stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there's no arguing. I think I agree with you with his mobility, and plus very Dak-like in his determination that he is out there to win. I agree with you.
And you don't get to play QB at Oklahoma if you don't know what your leadership skills are, and I think, definitely.
I agree with you. All right, have you got any negatives for Hurts being on the team, Brian?
No, I think the only thing, and I think the guys called this out on the draft show during last week, was it's just having the name Jalen Hurts as your backup.
Yeah.
Like I think Hurts is a starter somewhere in this league. I don't know exactly where, but I mean that's the only knock on him. Like he can pass, he's good on the intermediates. He's not great with a deep ball, so defenses will know what to do. But he has wheels, as Graham says. He can roll out. He can run. I think he's something like 600 plus carries. Nearly 3,500 yards on his feet, so he does have that dual threat, which is good. So I'm not going to knock the guy. As I say, it's just a name recognition.
Yeah, I would agree he's going to be a starter. I wouldn't say he'd be a starter right away though. He's not a plug and play guy in the first year. No. there to do with the decision making. But the guy you mentioned as being your number one, Brian, was Jacob Eason.
Yeah.
So what is it that tempts you to him being at the Dallas Cowboys as a backup or development quarterback, if you like?
I just think he's used to sitting. Like, he left. Wasn't it Ohio State he left? Or am I getting that wrong? Georgia.
I think
Georgia.
No, it wasn't Georgia. God, now you're getting me thinking.
Yeah, but like he went and he sat for a long time, and then he went to Washington. And when he went to Washington under Chris Peterson, his game developed. You know, and like that, there was a lot of positives in his last year, and I think he's only going to improve as a player. Whether or not we will get him, I think he's going to go in the second round. I don't think he'll be available for us.
Okay. Do you agree with that, Graham, or would you say that he's a guy that would be there in the later rounds for the Cowboys to pick up?
No, I think he I think he'll go earlier than we need him. The knock on him I've heard is that he gets a little bit stressed at times in the pocket.
Yeah.
A little bit inconsistent, but I can see why he would go in day two. And I think ideally we need a day three kind of guy. And I think he's at the top of Brian's list for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Somebody who's not sure will gamble on him. Somebody like say if Miami didn't get, for some reason they didn't get Tua, you know, they've got Rosen and Fitzmagic, so you know, they're not quite set. If you know what I mean, and they're quite willing to have a competition. If he gets into a competition early in pre-season and impresses, there's every chance he might sneak a start during the 2020 season.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, the thing is, funny you bring up the Dolphins, was something I was ironically thinking about today, is that if they didn't get to it, the good thing with the Dolphins is they do have, as you say, Fitzpatrick available. And I think he's there under contract for the next year, and then he's done. So if they did pick up a developing quarterback, maybe not somebody quite as low as that, I'm thinking maybe like Jordan Love, for instance, then that's an ideal situation for them where they can put the guy behind, let him, like you say, you know, take a break for a while, take a break for the redshirt him for the year, play behind, learn the system, learn the speed of the game. So yeah, it's an ideal way. And funny how you read my mind on the Dolphins situation.
I think if the Dolphins were not to get to it would have to be somebody talking to the Giants, for instance, because I don't see the Chargers leapfrogging them to get to her. There's one too many question marks just to throw away a couple of later picks. So
it's like the Lions, really. It's the Lions who are in the power position for that second quarterback, and they're playing it perfectly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But talking of day three guys, as you were mentioning, Graham, the ideal candidate for that, or the top of the list, if you like, that we all agreed with, we've all got the same guy at the bottom of this cluster of quarterbacks, was Anthony Gordon. So I just dropped my pen there. I've got him touted as a less talented, by a long way, Philip Rivers. Now, I don't mean he has a lot of kids. But
that's not a talent in
but you've got the guy basically who's from Washington State playing behind Gardner Minshew, who we've seen, you know, have success in the NFL, albeit briefly. Maybe it'll come back. But this is a guy who I think is in the exact same situation and taken talent-wise about the same. I've got his biggest issue being the thing that we were just talking about, IQ. Is that definitely for you, Graham, sort of guy, knowing that is the IQ is the problem, but you can develop that by redshirting him and developing him? Is that an ideal candidate to take into day 3 as a backup quarterback?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, the IQ and he's quite slender as well. So by being a backup, lets him learn the playbook and hit the gym.
Yeah.
Say something happened to Dak, or I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but say the contract didn't happen, allows him to sit, learn, eat plenty of steak, hit the gym,
peanut butter sandwiches.
Yeah.
Be some Guinness pie.
yeah, that too. Yeah, and I mean, everything that you look at is all things that can be fixed, that can be coached. It's IQ. The big one I've got here is I've put it down 3 times is feet. So obviously something I've picked up on throughout where is just he's got uncontrolled footwork, which as we all know, everything starts from the feet.
Mm-hmm. Would that have had to do with the fact he is minus 20 rushing yards?
Yeah, that would not help either. Yeah. What did I put him down on mobility? I don't think I put anything down. Just that you can't deal with pressure. That was the other thing. But let's look at wide receivers then, right, guys? So I think we'll wrap the backup quarterback. We'll come back to quarterbacks in a later show where we'll go right from top to bottom because it's always the talking point. And this is a draft show, so we'll look at everything. The first guy we're going to look at is a guy from the intro. Probably, I think, is a guy who's going to be the fastest 40 time in the combine next week, Henry Ruggs. The third.
Mm-hmm.
I've got him marked here as Tyreek Hill, but I think that's probably not a very good comp. I would say he's not as well built or physical as Tyreek Hill. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Or would you say Tyreek Hill's okay?
I would say Tyreek Hill is a reasonable comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe slightly faster, but I mean, the talk is that people expect Ruggs to run a 4.28, 40-yard dash. So, I mean, if we're talking about, a wide receiver and Dak needs someone who he can get open and he can get the ball to, I mean, that's where, the screaming lights are going off. You're going, yes, I have someone who can separate. Whether he'll be there for us and whether we're taking a wide receiver, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's going to be my next question, Greg. Do you think wide receiver in, let's go day 1 to begin with, is that an option for them? Is that the way to go forward?
It's early. We don't. Mm-hmm. I said in episode 39, I don't think we see Cooper this year. I think Cooper's off. Okay. So let's take it for instance that Cooper goes and Mike McCarthy doesn't see in Cobb what he used to.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Wide receiver is there. They say it's a deep wide receiver draft, but it doesn't hurt to take from the cream of the crop.
Mm-hmm.
Allows Michael Gallup to develop a lot more as well. Yeah. Because right now Michael Gallup is double coverage. So he's going to have a proper test if we don't get him some help. So, T. Higgins, Henry Ruggs, Jefferson, definitely they're in our range.
Okay,
Yeah.
So what would you guys bank more on? Let's take for argument's sake, right? Worst case scenario, and they decide to take a wide receiver day 1, right? What would you prefer to go with? Would you prefer the speed or would you prefer the power, the strength?
Go on, Brian.
What's a better option on the outside?
Can't I have both?
You can, but it costs a lot.
Yeah.
What we want is Calvin Johnson.
Well, basically, the reason I ask this is you've got really in that range, and they're fairly close to each other, and within, I would say, within the Cowboys' grasp of being able to draft in the first round, right? So you got Ruggs, who's probably going to be the fastest guy in this draft, right? The guy probably closest to him is a guy where we'll talk about in a moment, which is Riga. He's really fast. But you've got Ruggs, and the one below him, Laviska Shenault, right, from Colorado.
Yeah.
Basically, he's strength, he's power. Very much Des Bryant. Just give him the ball, and he's going to be physical, he's going to be strong, he's going to try and run into players. Not particularly polished as a route runner, but then again, neither is Ruggs. So what would you think, knowing that you've got Gallup on the other side, would you think, who I would say Gallup is quite Des Bryant-esque as well in some way. Would you think then Ruggs is a better option on the other side, or would you double up on the physicality and go Laviska?
For me, it's speed.
Speed?
For me,
So
I think because that's one of Dak's best balls.
Yeah.
It's the kind of 40-yard rocket. Speed opens up the tops of the defense, and I think at times we became a little bit too predictable. Don't know if we necessarily saw a great deal of stretch and threat over the top. That's maybe why a lot of defenses loaded the box last season. Because I don't see Cooper's particular speed. He's a good route runner, and that's where he gets his separation from. But I think if 4-3 speed gets the better of you in the first 10 yards, he's gone. And I think that just to take the top off a defense would help so much.
Okay, so let's stick with speed then, because we know Laviska's the strong Des Bryant playmaker type who struggles with right running. Let's stick with speed then. Talk to me about Jalen Riga then, Bri. You take this one away.
All right, so Jalen Reagor, TCU guy,
Yeah.
he's on the short side. He's under 6 foot, under 200 pounds, but by God, he's fast and gets away. And that's the thing. And he has that take the top off a defense threat in him. Like he had 148 receptions for 2,250 yards, 22 touchdowns. Like that's numbers you want to see. Like I was kind of, whilst Graham was saying about Shenault, I was kind of thinking like we have a guy who is there who can take the top off a defense. And for some reason, we didn't use him at all last year, and that was Devin Smith.
Yeah, Devin
from Ohio
Smith,
State. I didn't understand why they didn't use him. They seem to get hung up on Tavon Austin being fit, and we have to use Tavon Austin. And he did nothing. That magic name, Graham.
I'm ready to see the back. Tavon Austin, really?
Yeah.
And come on.
But like that.
Just say goodbye.
Yeah. But like that.
I mean, Riga, he is your deep route. He's going on deep routes all the time. Yeah. He's going on 9 routes. That's where you're going to see him. That's his specialty. Obviously, the negative point, the 2 negative points I've got for him is, number one is his route tree. I mean, it doesn't exist. He's literally going on 1 of 3 routes. And the other one is, all I saw from him was body catches. There's no extension of the arms. There's not a huge catch radius there. But I mean, you can't go wrong with taking him, mind. Would you take him in the first round?
Reagor?
Yeah.
No.
No?
No, definitely not. He's not a first round talent.
No. Or if he was to go in the first round, really, that you can lean back into this sort of draft, knowing that the talent's so deep. All right. So if we look at more or less day 2 guys here, 2 day 2 guys I'm looking at. I'll give this one to you, Graham. Brandon Ayuk. Now, just to give you a word of warning, this is one of my biggest sleepers in this year. But tell me what you think of Brandon Ayuk, especially as a guy that we could take in the second round. He's definitely going to be available there.
Was that an exclusive there, Mike?
Yes, that's right.
See, the people don't know. We've got Mike's got a red phone in his office somewhere that rings every so often. As soon as it rings, that's it.
It's like a little bat phone.
Yeah. I saw with this guy. I saw on NFL.com the comparisons. Robert Woods. Yes, please.
I like that.
That would be good if he turns out to be Robert Woods. I'd be delighted with that. He's quick.
Yes.
He's quick. His route running's good, and I don't know if it's just me, but on third down he seems to be particularly dependable.
From the slot. From the slot, though, yeah.
Oh yeah.
From the slot,
yeah.
amazing.
And his instincts as well. He just seems to get it.
Yeah.
On weaknesses, I don't know. Maybe a bit of separation.
Yeah, I've got that. More separation at the stem. He seems to struggle at his route stems.
Yeah, but that would be good.
Yeah, and one little note why I particularly like Ayuk. And honestly, I keep circling him, and on my draft board, I got a colour for sleepers, and he's like the very first sleeper on my draft board. Is he can also return kicks and punts.
Yeah.
Which is something the Cowboys, I think, are needing, especially if they don't retain Tavon Austin, as we were just talking about.
Goodness, for a long time, yeah. For a long time.
So that definitely is one worth looking at into day 2. But then let's look at the last guy on the list then. Let's look at Denzel Mims from Baylor. Baylor obviously being last year's best Texas team in college. And I'm not going to hear anything else. I'm not going to hear it from you. Right. Something we were just speaking about, route running. The trouble with Mims is that is exactly his issue. Is he does struggle to run routes. But this is a guy who I think you could get as a steal in. You could get him in the 3rd round, I think. I don't know what you guys think of that. Do you agree?
I think he could be there in the 4th.
Could be there in the 4th. I agree.
He could slip now. Like the last mock that I seen him in, he was mocked at 55. So
that's a bit high.
You don't know. I thought that was a bit high myself.
Yeah.
But like he's a big body guy.
Huge.
Which is good. So that's good on the jump balls as well. I think he's he's on. 190, 215, that's kind of size you'd like. If he's not going to have the ability to separate and as a poor route tree, you have to have size, which he does. He's also well able to catch, and he can catch for a lot of yards.
Yeah.
So he'd intrigue me if he got to our 4th round pick.
Funny you say. Go on. Sorry.
I'm just going to throw it in there. And I'm disappointed at you for not even suggesting these two guys.
Yeah.
Devin Duvernay or Colin Johnson, if they're there in the 4th.
I think Devin Duvernay you could probably get in a later round than the 4th.
I think they're both projected around the same area. So if you had any of those 3 available in the 4th and we hadn't taken a receiver, I'd take any of the 3 of them. Yeah.
And like you say with Mims, you're saying about his catching. The first thing I put down, my note from beginning of the year was a bad throw specialist. And you do see it. It is something that you see from him. Baylor being in such a weird place with their quarterback throwing, it's always been an unusual place for them.
Yeah.
But he does, and like you say, he's a big guy, so there's that big catch area. But as I say, it's the route running. You just don't see it. But yeah, he's the cat. Would you like to see Graham that sort of pick taken from the Cowboys?
Well,
given say worse circumstance. God, I'm dropping this in your egg basket.
What I will say is that the guys we're talking about now are more likely, because pop quiz. When was the last time Mike McCarthy took an offensive player in the first round?
Go on, surprise me.
2011.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the way our defense is right now, that's going to continue.
That's the thing, and that also returns us back to what we was talking about earlier about if we call it worst case scenario. They don't retain Cooper. This is one of the reasons why I think they do, because there's so much at stake on the defense that it just I can see Cooper staying, which I think then would eliminate the need of somebody like Brandon Ayuk, which would be a shame. It'd make me cry. But then if you're gonna, I think they'll retain Cooper as well. So then that obviously takes your Ruggs, Visca, Riga completely out of the equation. So it would be that list of taking offensive players for Mike McCarthy to continue. But let's look then, right, guys, at tight end. So something I think is going to be more in our wheelhouse here, because I can't see Jason Witten staying. First question I'm going to ask you, though, is are any of, because really I'm only going to look at the top 3 tight ends. If you want to talk about Thaddeus, it's up to you. It's entirely up to you guys. I know we spoke about him briefly about Thaddeus Moss last week. We'll just look at the top 3. Are any of the top 3, right, Hopkins, Bryant, or Komet, worth taking in the first round?
No.
Oh, Jesus God, no.
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 I was being a bit more political than Brian.
Okay. Are any of them worth taking in day 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
Later or earlier? Which is best?
I think it depends on the team. It depends on the team.
Would you take any of them in round 2 then, Graham?
Might be a little bit high, but I'd love to see Troutman on the Cowboys.
Troutman, okay.
Might be a little bit high for 2 though.
I agree.
I think it for us it's kind of a necessity, just because we run the ball so much, particularly on goal line. Not having Witten there, do you want to go pass catcher or do you want an all rounder?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they need to decide, because we talked about it plenty that the comeback of Witten kind of stunted our other guys a little bit.
Yeah.
Part of me just wants to say no. Let them go and let them play. Let's see what we've got. But yeah, see if Troutman's there in the 3rd, run that card up to the podium.
Okay. So are you guys after then not so much a route runner, more of a blocker then? Do you think that's more the Cowboys fit? So really then, the top 3 guys are going to be taken off our list, because they're all really, if you look at Bryce Hopkins, Hunter Bryant, or Cole Kmet, as I say, whichever way round you look at these guys, no matter what, they are route running tight ends. They're very much move tight ends. Even their negative point for the top 3 tight ends is that they're blocking, especially run blocking, is quite poor. The next guy really on that list, in the top few, is the guy we just mentioned. So we're back to Moss again. We keep coming back, circling back to him. Is this a guy in the 3rd round you'd be willing to take, Brian?
No.
No? He's
No.
still not there.
If it gets to the 3rd round, the name that I have circled is Albert O from Missouri.
Albert O is somebody you can't forget,
Because for me, the guy is 6'6", 255. That's the kind of body I want blocking and can block down on players. That's what I want. I think Mike McCarthy is going to have a huge issue once he gets into camp and sorting out our wide receiver and tight end room. We've a lot of bodies in there, and they're a mix and match of I don't know what. Because after 2 years, I can't tell you what Dalton Schultz is. We were told he's a pro-style quarterback coming out of Stanford. He's done nothing in 2 years. I still don't know what Blake Jarwin is. I think he's more of a pass-catching tight end, which is good. But the way we have played our offense is, it's a heavy offense where we like to have at least one, if not both, tight ends blocking when they're in. So that's what we need to bring. So that's what I'd be looking for.
But you're saying Albert O in the 3rd round?
I would take Albert O in the 3rd round.
Okay, do you agree with that, Graham?
I think Graham has a point as well, though. If Adam Troutman is there, he's even bigger again. I think he's 6'7", so he is, and 255 as well. I mean, that's everything you want, and he can bloody well catch the ball.
But I mean, are you thinking Albert O in the 3rd round grade? Would that be too high for you, or are you agreeing with that?
No, I agree. I agree with that. I think that the combine will particularly for tight ends. I think the combine's good for tight ends because it lets everybody see their hips and their fluidity and how they attack the bags and all that kind of stuff. And when you see the all-rounders, they usually come out at the combine for me. They block and they catch. They got a decent, respectable 40 time and all that kind of stuff. So if you're an all-rounder, you'll go high. If you're a specialist, that 3rd, 4th is when we'll be looking, I think. Because there isn't... right now there isn't. But we all know that, guys come out of nowhere. I mean, just look at the long-time Ravens QB went to the Broncos. Flacco. No, Flacco never even had a 1st round grade before the combine in map, if I remember correctly. So if you can prove yourself at the combine, somebody might sneak into the 1st round. They might do, but for me, it's your first tight end is maybe early day 2.
Yeah,
definitely a 3rd round. You'll start to see the tight ends.
Okay, so if we stay into the 3rd round, okay, Cowboys have taken 2 defensive players with their first 2 picks in round 1 and round 2. You've got Hopkins, Bryant, and Kmet all sitting there as the Cowboys pick. Would you be tempted at that point to take any one of those 3?
I would have a look at wide receiver first. Just depending on what happens with our current guys, obviously. I mean, if we get Cooper locked up, which I want to happen. I like Amari Cooper, but it's just I think they've left it too late. The only thing that would keep Cooper around is if the rest of the teams look at the draft and go, why are we spending 18, 19, 20 million when we could pick somebody up for a rookie contract, albeit a 1st round, but a rookie deal. So depending on how the wide receiver free agency goes. But yeah, I think they need to address tight end at some point because like Brian was saying, it's kind of a mishmash at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, we still don't know what exactly Schultz's role is. And Jarwin, I think, is a free agent as of this year, so he could effectively walk out the building.
I think he's a restricted free agent, isn't he?
He might be. You could be quite right there. I'm not going to bother checking right now because I think you're right. He is restricted, so they'll probably put like a 3rd round tender on him. down that line if that's the case. But when we talked about last week, we looked at yes or no to positions we think the Cowboys are going to draft in the first few days. The one that we had a bit of a question mark, a line through because we weren't sure, was offensive tackle. We'll go down the line since it's, as I say, the draft show, and we're looking at offensive prospects. Don't think we'll bother looking into the inside offensive line guys, your guards and your centers. I don't think there's much need there. But we'll go to the tackles. What's that?
Because there aren't any.
That too, yeah. But we got the offensive tackle. We look really at the top 4 guys. I think by the time the Cowboys get to their pick, there's going to be 1 or at least 2 available. I've got 4 in my top 20. The next are developing offensive tackles. Offensive tackle number 5 being a bit of a battle between the next 4 down the list. So we'll look, first of all, we'll start at the very top. Let's have a look here. So let's go with Jedrick Wills from Alabama. Is that your number 1 offensive tackle, or have you both got different offensive tackle number 1s?
I quite like Becton.
Yeah? Yeah. You both thought you both thought down in the ACC, wanting that guy. Yeah?
I didn't think Graham was going to throw that out there like that. For like,
have I stolen your thunder?
No, you haven't. Like I went safe here, and Andrew Thomas is my number 1. But my number 2 was Becton, because he's just rising and rising every week.
Yeah.
And I think there's a possibility that he slides into the top 10. There really is. And if he supplants Andrew Thomas as the number 1 offensive tackle, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm really not.
Yeah, I mean, Becton on my list is actually 4. But the point I'm trying to make is that these 4 really are quite close together. They're all really in the top 20. And you speak to anybody and you say, put your 4 offensive tackles in order. They'll give you a different order, and they won't be wrong. You know, if you add any of them outside the top 20, I'd say you're wrong. But
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you could put any of those 4 really in any discernible order in your top 20, and it would fit the narrative. But I mean, if we start with Jedrick Wills, I'll start with you, Gray. I've got you as him being an NFL level pass protector straight off the bat. Is that something you would say is right, really, in his scouting report? Would you say he's in pass protection, especially at already an NFL level offensive lineman in that respect?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, definitely. Goodness, he's I mean, they all are, but he's massive.
Oh yeah,
you know, I mean, he just looks like a massive, Jason Peters type, man mountain. Just, but again, most of them. I mean, so's Becton.
Becton's another level again, Mike.
I mean, the combine is good for tackles as well, because again, it lets you see their fluidity, and same thing we talked about the tight ends. Obviously not catching, but he bulldozes blocks. Big lad. He again at Alabama for a reason. NFL have him as a 7.0 grade, so he'll go early.
Oh yeah. I mean, his only knock I've got on him is that he seems to develop later on in the game. This lack of focus, and you can see it as the game develops. But I'm 100% with you that when it comes to combine, offensive linemen are the ones I'd look at the most, because you hear a lot of talk, a lot of scouting spiel about how fast and athletic they are, but when you're actually watching it, all you see from offensive linemen is them go 5 yards in front of them to hit a defensive, and you're like, well, I can't see that. I don't know what you're on about. And they say how strong and powerful they are. You can see aspects of that during the game, but the combine, helps you break it down, because you get to see him bench pressing, and you get to see him doing the kick slide drills, which are quite important, I think. So
just what you were saying there, I think makes him the ideal candidate to move inside to guard. Because you see that a fair amount that tackles that aren't necessarily ready to hold an edge, move them inside to guard, and we've done it. We've done it a few times. And then maybe when they're ready or when the necessity comes, they move out to tackle. But goodness, the big bodies certainly help, especially at guard.
What you got to look at as well is Jedrick Wills. Basically he's only ever played on the right side of the line.
Yeah.
And people really going to value taking a offensive right tackle that high, and moving from right to left is more difficult than people make out. I mean, the best saying I've ever heard was Joe Thomas talking about playing on the line, and they said, well, how hard is it to play on the opposite side of the line? He said, the best way to equate playing on the opposite side of the line is trying to wipe your ass with the wrong hand.
Well, this is it.
And I like that. I'm like, I'll stick with that.
It could be something as simple as muscle memory.
Yeah.
Just used to having somebody on your left hand side, just to talk to and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, certainly if you get beat on the right hand side, your QB has a chance to live. If you get beat on the left, you're going to hear about it when you get back to the huddle. So, yeah, I can see why. Definitely.
Yeah. I totally agree with the muscle memory side, certainly, especially when you play that long in one position. That muscle memory is locked in. But you was talking about Andrew Thomas, Bri. We'll come back to back, and I'll let Brian take that in a moment. Talk to us then and tell us about Andrew Thomas from Georgia. I know you were speaking about the offensive line from Georgia earlier on.
Yeah. I think Thomas is 196, 320 pounds, big boy. Yeah. Gave up very little pressure all year on Jake Fromm. I don't think he was bet at any stage. Doesn't give up sacks, so he's the most pro-ready tackle there is outside of Becton. So I think he's ready to go, and I think he's also the left-sided tackle as well, which is where we're leaning towards. What we need is that swing tackle, that person that can fit in beside Tyron Smith and help him out. And especially as Graham has been saying this all year, we're not getting 16 games a year, right? So we need someone who can fit in there and play to a level, because God forbid we've put in Cam Fleming again, we're screwed.
I would have to agree there. But with Andrew Thomas, though, does the concerns, I mean, maybe when we, as Graham was just talking about with the combine, when we see the footwork drills and the kick slides, which I think is probably the most important drill, especially for tackles in the combine, does Andrew Thomas's footwork not concern you about his placement and the speed he can get moving?
It would, but it's also something you can work on. And as we say, if you're drafting Andrew Thomas, we're not drafting him to start.
Yeah.
So you're allowing him the time to work on that kind of stuff. And I mean, who better to learn it from than Tyron Smith? I mean, even if Tyron Smith is injured, he can work with him on that kind of stuff. And we have to start looking for that replacement for Tyron, because I know he's only 29 years of age, but the body is breaking down on him already. Yeah. And we need to start planning. And I don't think you're going to get a better class than this group for offensive tackles.
He's starting to look like RoboCop, the amount of metal he's wearing.
Yeah, I know, yeah. You know, the guy's wearing knee pads, his elbow pads, and the rest of it. Yeah, and you do see occasionally, I forget which game it was, and he was just getting a stream, I think it was about 3 in a row, where the Cowboys were getting flags, and all of them were on him, and he's just like, oh, come on. And basically, as you say, it's just his body trying to obviously in his mind he knows what he's supposed to do, but it's getting his body into the position.
Yeah.
But talking the next guy, so we go to Becton, who basically is going to win, I think, this year's Big Boy Award, because he is this guy. I know we were talking about Wills being a Man Mountain. This guy is just the next level again. I honestly think he could block out the sun. He's that big. He's massive. But tell me, Gray, why it is you've got him so high on your rankings of these top 4 offensive tackles then?
Well, I think he's one of the first. I can't remember who it was, said it on ESPN, but he's literally the first college player to actually swallow up a defensive end. The phrase, he got swallowed up on that play. The guy's massive. He's huge.
He's a cookie shy of 370 pounds.
Yeah. Do you know what? It would not surprise me if he is over. You're only talking a pound, so he's probably over that. Well, to be honest, I reckon for the combine he'll bring that weight down for athletic testing. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if part of the season he was over 370.
Yeah.
Depending on what the 40 time is. I mean, obviously it's ridiculous asking offensive linemen to run 40s, right? But if he runs a good first 10 yards, that might cement him as the top tackle because the athleticism's there, the height, weight, speed, complete package.
Okay, just briefly explain as well, Gray, why? Because I'm with you, but why is the 10-yard split for offensive tackles so important?
Well, if you imagine a defensive end screaming off the edge, it has to be that first initial crack of the hip that gets out to take him on. If you imagine the running game, you have to be sharp off the line to go and take your defensive end and drive him back. So it's that initial explosion off the line that they're looking for. They're not. You don't see offensive tackles running 40 yards down the field. Nobody's the least bit interested in that. That's why I always find it funny. They pick on these offensive linemen, and they've maybe ran a 5'9", 5'8", or something like that, and they're tearing them to shreds on NFL Network. No one cares. No one cares. What was his first 10? That's what we want to know.
Yeah. Literally, when it comes to offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and defensive ends, I literally only look at the 10-yard split. That's all I'm concerned about there. I agree with you.
What I will say for that kind of position group, they should make more of the first 10.
Yeah.
They should. Let's just forget about the 40. What did they do in the first 10?
Yeah.
That's the point.
I agree. And then obviously all that leaves then is the Iowa kid, Tristan Wirfs. Anybody want to tell me what's good and what's bad about it? I tell you what, somebody give me the positives. What's Wirfs good at? Why the Cowboys should draft him in the first round? Go. No? I caught you out, huh?
Yeah. Go on, Graham.
Because our offensive line's falling apart.
I mean, the thing to look at with Wirfs is his hands. His hand placement and his punch are insane.
Yeah.
They are never in the wrong place.
Is he a guy you could consider kicking into guard?
No, he's too big. No, wait, sorry. He's too small.
Yeah, but
you would have to put on some weight, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of like, he has the aggressiveness and the hand placement, but he would have to put on some more weight. He's quite light in terms. When you look at him, he looks light,
Because I'm just looking, and almost all of these guys are 6 foot. Between 6'5" and 6'7".
Yeah.
And weighing in at close to 320 pounds.
Yeah.
That's the stats I have on them.
Like, for offensive tackle, you want them around 325. That's the ideal weight.
Yeah.
So he's not far off ideal weight when you look at Komet. I just think that you would have to put on some more weight in order to get him. Yeah, you know, especially with the style of play the Cowboys have in the line, they need to put on a bit more weight because his point of attack. You know, when he's at the point of attack in the running game, he's fine. So it technically, yes, but stylistically, I don't think so. No.
All right, so I picked 17. I'm taking Mekhi Becton. I'm putting him in at guard, and I'm going to see him pancake every defensive tackle in the league.
He is a beast, mind you, Becton. He's massive. You wonder how far back the zoom is as well on his photos to make it. No, but guys, that is the offensive prospect look this week. Next week we are doing the pre-combine special, looking at guys really who we should be looking at in the combine, what we should be looking at, and for that show we have a special guest coming in for it. So make sure you watch that. It's be neatly put together. But obviously as well, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the page in the group, the YouTube channel, the podcast. Is there anything else I forgot? SoundCloud,
Bebo, MySpace,
yeah, Twitcher, whatever it's called, Stitcher. Oh, but thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much, Brian and Graham, for giving you time to talk all things draft as we're in the draft season, and we will see you next week as as we look into the combine. Thank you very much, and how about them Cowboys?
See you next time.
Good luck.